Nice of you to come visit, Luna. I see your breasts have gotten a lot bigger.
Please don't talk about those.
What, your boobs?
Yes, those.
So you don't want me to talk about your gazongas?
No, I don't.
Okay, so just to be clear, I am definitely not going to bring up your double whammies. Your melons are off the table. Hooters are a no-go area. Ixnay on the Evich clay.
Are you done?
Yes. So, how was school?
It was fun.
Titties!
What's up, Epic 7 players? Long time no see! I'm officially making a return to making E7 content, and what better way to return than with a guide? So yes, October was a month of reruns, so unfortunately for us long-time players, we don't need the hero I'm covering today, and our Skystones are crying to be spent, but some people did miss her, and I believe it is the first time Europe is getting Luna, so why not make a guide for
Titties!
Keep in mind, she is still a limited unit, so once her banner goes away, it ain't coming back until a year later, if even that. So, despite my criticisms I'll talk about, you should still get her for her limitedness. With that aside though, welcome to my guide for Luna. So, Luna is perhaps the most famous and popular hero in Epic 7 for two big reasons that we'll get in between later, but first, her stats. She is an ice element unit with overall pretty thick stats for a damage dealer, so her endurance is very high compared to most single target DPSs, but it is her skills that make her even better. Skill 1, Infinity War. Stabby stabs the target a random amount of times out of 3 possible versions, while also lowering the cooldown of her S3 1 to 3 turns as well, depending on the version she does. So this skill can be one of the most powerful S1s in the game damage-wise. There's 3 different versions of it, and she picks one of those 3 randomly to do. And the final version, the 10 stab hit, deals the most damage and lowers her S3 cooldown by 3 turns. The 10 hit version hits for a whopping 2.1 multiplier, so literally dealing S3 like damage from just her S1. But it is random, so you could get the lowest version and deal kinda meh damage, so there's an RNG factor to this skill. It's a bit hard to explain and is fairly unique to her, but just know that, on average, it is pretty strong though. Skill 2, a passive that increases her crit chance and attack by up to 30% when her health is above 50%. When it's below 50%, her defense is increased and the enemy loses up to 20% crit chance against her. So say in PvP, enemy Luna is below 50% HP. Your hero has 100% crit and attacks her. Well, your attack will actually only have an 80% chance to crit when it hits because of her S2 effect. So this skill is very strong both offensively and defensively, as the crit chance allows you to always run crit damage necklace since reaching 100% crit from substats and her S2 is easy. And lastly, skill 3 flies up without any wings at all and launches a spear in your face from the sky, with up to 100% chance to decrease defense for 2 turns. What's unique about this skill is that it's always at an elemental advantage. So even against a grass unit, you know water is weak to grass, well this skill will be treated like a fire attack. Against dark, it'll be treated as a light attack. So what this means is that this S3 gains a damage bonus and gains 50% crit chance against everyone. It also means it can't miss against grass units, unlike other water units. So overall, very powerful with a 2.2 soul burn modifier for even more damage. So as you see, an overall strong single target DPS, with an S3 making her useful even in leafy situations. The crit chance S2 buff also makes gearing her easier than other single target units, only needing 70% crit chance from substats to reach 100% with S2, or only needing 55% crit chance if only used against fire units, where she'll gain a 50% crit buff from elemental advantage. This makes her a powerful Wyvern 11 unit, a great nuker against Carcanis and Raid, and in PvP, her S3 Ellie advantage is super threatening to anyone, even on defense. I mentioned her 2 big reasons to summon for her, and that is an excellent Wyvern killer as mentioned, but also a very powerful and bulky threat in PvP. Coupled with CR pushers like Tamasaria combo or Oxlots, with Soul Burn and Attack Up, she can take out bruiser units like Ken without defense break, and be a permanent threat to teams like Ruel and Dark Corvus, since her bulk will let her live against most of the other revived targets' damage, and then she can take chunks off them via Kitty Clarissa dual attack proc or Lilius's S1 dual attack proc as well. However, this is mostly where her greatness ends. Her initial release earlier this year provided one of the best units in the game to have, but now, in late 2019, with power cred buffs and ML units and free-to-play Wyvern units at the handful, and better units for raid that provide similar damage but at a higher morale, her shine has definitely dimmed since her first release. She's no longer a must-have since Alexa, Karen, and even Lena can compete or even outclass her in Wyvern for less investment. For raid, Chlorina, a free-to-play 3-star, outclasses her in the DPS department, as well as in Abyss. Chlorina's just overall better DPS, and in PvP, while still solid, most players prefer big cleavers or something along the lines of her little sister Euphine to one-shot and deal way more damage against the blue dominance, and against grass units, Sirmia is a clear-cut better damage S3. So she's now just a really solid good unit, but not top tier anymore. So keep that in mind if you are summoning for her or thinking about it. Her use will eventually be phased out, and being a limited unit means that her likeliness of getting exclusive equipment is slim, or at the least certainly not anytime soon. Still, she's still a very attractive unit to have, so summon for my waifu purposes if anything. Before getting into builds, here are the best Catalyst farming locations that also have AP shops to gradually buy them from. And for raid morale teams, here are the best teams she can get with each of the 3 meta healers. Now, onto builds. She's pretty straightforward, just focus on damage. However, I will provide 2 routes to take that are going to have different results. So for the first, and probably what most people build her as, is a nuker and Wyvern farmer. This build for Wyvern is dependent on you having Idle Cheer on Angelica or Momo, or some sort of CR pusher like General Purgus tanking, or Rose on the offhand, because you're throwing speed under the bus and relying on the CR pusher to get her to attack often and deal crap tons of damage. Without those things though, you're better off with Route 2. For PvP, you'd use, again, a CR pusher in Oxlots or Tamasaria, and others along that line. Make Chloe Revive can also work, although it's dangerous on defense. If you just want to make her a Wyvern farmer, all you need is 55% crit if you max her S2 out. Some effectiveness helps in landing her S3 defense break, but it's not too necessary if you're using a Terranor Guard or Furious as your breaker. Try to prioritize crit damage over attack, since her best artifact for Wyvern will be Joker. If you do want to use her in PvP as well as Wyvern, then Hellcutter is great in giving her stacks of attack as well as crit chance, allowing you to stay at 55% crit while the Hellcutter brings you up near 70% for PvP, before her S2 passive. And that wraps it up for Route 1, just get as much deeps as possible and hit him very hard. Now for Route 2, this one is good in all content, but slightly worse as a Wyvern killer, and worse at one-shotting in PvP. But this one opts for speed, preferably with Lifesteal set. This allows her to heavily damage or even take out a target in PvP early on as a surprise attack, since most probably won't expect a fast Luna, and the Lifesteal set will sustain and top her off so she doesn't draw aggro from neutral element units. This is more advanced however gear-wise, since you'll need good speed subs as well as damage, and 55% effectiveness for PvE, and good bulk to live in PvP. But this is generally best DPS for a standalone Luna without CR pushing. Aim for 185 or higher speed with speed set, or 168 and higher with lifesteal, and you're Gucci. So for artifacts, Draco plates are going to be superior as you're going to deal more damage while preventing crit damage from hurting her as much. Max Draco plate deals as much damage as Max Tonfa, and as much damage as 4 stacks of Hellcutter, so just FYI. Although, because it is a 5-star artifact, it will be harder to max out. But that wraps up the guide for Tiggo Biddy's Luna. She's still a good hero for most situations, so if you don't have her and are missing key nukers like Sirmia or Watcher Shuri or Euphine, then I'd give her some pulls and you'll get use out of her, which is hard to say about most RGB units. If you're just looking for a Wyvern killer though, I'd pass. There's better options that don't kill your Skystone reserves. But that is it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed the guide. Good luck on your pulls, and let me know in the comments down below if you're pulling for Luna, or if you're like me, still saving and begging for a new unit after a month of reruns. Jeez. Pet Guide will be next, and even more hero guides to come, so smash that like button and subscribe and hit that notification bell for more Epic 7 epicness.